Welcome back to I'm For Real, the Movie Lovers Podcast, where we talk all things movies and entertainment. I am your host, RDO. Welcome back to the show. We have back on, by popular demand, David Ward. I tell you, man, I walk the streets and people say to me, man, when you gonna have David Ward back on? When you gonna have on Ward again? I like when he did that thing with y'all with Marvel and DC. I like that. Bring him on back. So I had to bring you back, man. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good.
Mr. Ward, what's going on?
Not much. Just watching the news. R.I.P. Dikembe Mutombo.
Oh,
and
yes.
John Amos.
Yes, John Amos, Dikembe Mutombo all passed away at the time of this recording. Dikembe Mutombo, you know, the finger wagging, he's the one who did that. And then John Amos. Love John Amos. What do you like? What is John Amos like? What other than Good Times? Like, what is the best John Amos role that you've seen him in? I know what mine is.
You know, I can't lie to you. I just think about him, good or bad. I just think about him being in Good Times. I mean, I bow my head in shame.
Come on, Coming to America. McDowell's.
You know, fun fact, I used to drive past I want to say it was a Wendy's that they actually used for that McDowell's. I used to drive past it going to my aunt's house in Long Island.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It used to have a sign up that said, you know, Coming to America filmed here.
Right.
So there you go.
Right.
Fun fact.
Man, that's cool. Yeah, people don't know that you're actually from New York. So you're the perfect person that we can talk about with this particular topic. And so let's get into it, man. I want to get into it here because the title of this broadcast is "Why Isn't Our Black Community Defending Sean Pitty Combs?" I'm not going to call him Pitty Diddy or whatever. I'm going to call him Sean Combs for the purpose of this. So why isn't our black community supporting him? So in case you don't know, Sean Combs was actually charged with one count of racketeering and one count of sex trafficking. And if you don't know what racketeering is, basically it's when an individual engages in a illegal activity for pretty much commercial profit, but it's disguised as kind of like a legal business. It's almost like I'm paying you to be quiet and not talk to the feds or talk to law enforcement, but I'm putting it in the books as like a business expense. And then he is charged with sex trafficking. Very simple. You hire a sex worker. I live in California. We live in California. If I hire a sex worker from New York to come to California to perform a sex act, and I pay them, and then I pay them to go back, that is sex trafficking. It's not like Taken. I mean, that's part of it, like Taken, where you put them in in a container and ship them across the ocean and put them in in a slave, sex shop or whatever. There are other forms of sex trafficking. So that is what he is. And then as of this broadcast, he's actually being sued for allegedly sexually abusing a 9-year-old boy. And this case is still wide open. And the district attorney actually said that there are more charges that are going to be coming. So let me ask you about this. Were you surprised when you heard about this?
Absolutely not. Because let's face it, for the longest time, we've been hearing rumors and stories have been floating about.
Right.
The one I found really interesting is looking back at the Cat Williams interview.
Yeah.
With Shannon Sharpe. Remember when he intimated that Sean Combs was going after him, and you could tell in that interview how Shannon Sharpe was almost like, "Come on now, just stop." You know that's not true.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Looks like it was true.
Right. No, and here's the thing. The feds actually raided his home. It was about a year ago, right? So it was about a little over a year ago. And I think it was kind of preempted by that video, which we're probably going to show, the video of Cassie at the hotel. I don't know if that was before or after. I can't recall now. But yeah, the feds raided his homes a little less than a year ago. So they took their time bringing this case to fruition. And here's the thing. It's the federal government, ladies and gentlemen. The feds have a 90% conviction rate. That means you're going to get convicted 9 times out of 10. And I would submit that it's probably higher if you are a celebrity. It's probably 100%. A celebrity or a political figure, they're not going to bring a case, the feds, if it is not airtight. They have a lot of resources in order to get a grand jury to indict. So if they're bringing a charge to you, it is airtight. I don't think that they are going to offer him a deal because I don't think they need to. But things don't look good for him right now, and it is just not a good thing for him.
And to your point, like about the feds, the one thing about them, they are patient. They will wait. So usually by the time they talk to you, they already know everything.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And what makes it even worse, again, they're still open to more charges. And as of this recording, he is still in detention. He got denied bail twice. And again, I think that the judge really pointed out quite plainly, based on that video that I saw of you beating Casey in a hotel, you are a danger to society. Why are we going to put you back into the streets? That they even offered him $50 million. And I wear an ankle bracelet. I won't meet with women. I won't eat pork. I mean, all of these, conditions. And the judge
probably won't give up the baby oil.
Yeah, the baby oil. The baby oil. That's the part that just really gets me too. The baby oil part. He was like, well, his lawyer was like, well, he got it in bulk at Costco. Costco's like, nah, man, we don't sell bulk like that. Baby oil, like, nah, we don't do.
I just would love to see the face of the Amazon driver who dropped that off.
It's like, hold on a second. 1,000 bottles of. He probably already knows it. It's Diddy's house, man.
Exactly.
It's Sean Combs' house. But here's my bigger question: is there's not really anyone of note, even with my ears to the street and going on the internet and watching various shows. I'm not seeing a lot of people come to his defense, and no one. I think. Well, let me ask you this: why do you think that's the case? Why do you think the Black community as a whole isn't standing by him, isn't defending him? Why do you think that's the case?
I'll tell you, is Jesse Smollett?
Yeah.
It's him all over again. Because in fact, if you remember when that case came up, I asked you and the guys, do you believe the story? And we all said no.
Yeah.
We all knew that was a lie.
Right.
We all did. I would ask members of my family, do you believe this? No.
Right. But I think a broader issue is, I think the broader thing is, when you look at people not defending him, coming out saying, you know what, hey, let's reserve judgment, let's not jump to a conclusion. I think it has more to do with R. Kelly. And I think because the Black community was so off with R. Kelly, because they defended him the first time he went to trial, and he got off. But the second time, that's when the Me Too movement came out with Harvey Weinstein, a lot of his actresses that came forward and admitted that, he assaulted them. I think that kind of changed things. But the first R. Kelly trial, people were defending him. People were blaming the parents.
Right. And they also did that too with Michael Jackson. Blame the parents, don't blame the actual perpetrator. Right. Because hey, Bump and Grind's a big song.
Right.
Clearly he can't do anything wrong.
Right. But if you look back, we've always come to the defense of our community, especially when it comes to celebrities. You look at Mike Tyson. He got charged with rape back in 1991. Went to jail for 3 years. We talked about R. Kelly. Michael Jackson, you brought up. He was charged with 7 counts of sexual abuse and 1 count of getting a kid drunk to commit a sex crime. He was found not guilty. Doesn't mean he was innocent. It just means that the state didn't prove their case. O.J. Simpson, was found not guilty of 2 counts of murder, but ended up doing 9 years for robbery and kidnapping. Again, we came to his defense. We came but also I look at that climate, the climate that we were in at that time, coming off the Rodney King beating
Right.
and the riots and everything. I think maybe you can agree with me. I think it was almost understandable why the community stood up for him based on what had just happened in terms of Rodney King in the LA riots.
Agreed. I agree 100%. One thing I was to me the most interesting thing about that trial was the day of the verdict.
Yeah.
I remember at my job, I worked in customer service. Literally, the phones stopped ringing, and we pulled out the TV and watched the verdict. But I will always remember how we were just amazed. You could tell California, maybe the whole country,
Right.
it just stopped. It literally just stopped.
Yeah.
And amazing, something that I will never forget.
Right.
No.
No.
But you are right though about that the climate we were in. The Rodney Kings. I think Black America was looking. Let's win one. I think it was very much an answer of
Yeah.
let's win one. Because
Right.
I people knew he was guilty, but
Right. Yeah.
but they feel like, but we still got one.
I do. I think that most Black people knew that he was guilty. And to your point, I just think a lot of them were just like, well, you know what? Hey, and it's unfortunate because 2 lives were lost that didn't have to be lost. And but I think, yes, it was payback. I look at more recently, probably Cosby. Bill Cosby, of course, was found not guilty. I'm sorry, Cosby was found guilty of sexual assaulting a woman back in 2000. I believe it was 2004. He ended up doing 3 years, got sentenced to 9, got out on technicality, so he's not incarcerated now. But there were over 60 women that came forward and claimed that Bill Cosby sexually assaulted them. And when the first couple of people came forward, and now, let me just double back. Being a comedian, stand-up comic, I had heard for years, even back in the 90s, these rumblings about Cosby. Women comics would tell me, like, yeah, man, like if he gives you a drink and drop it by mistake and then leave the room, like, that's the kind of thing that I'd heard about growing up in comedy. But yeah, 60 women, all of them basically telling the same story, many of them not knowing each other. They're all lying. Right. They're all lying against Cosby. He's and look, he's America's dad, right? Like, no one wanted to believe it, right?
Right. And one thing I did find interesting about the whole Cosby situation is when people defended him, I sometimes wondered how much his age played into that. And I remember I was working and we had a TV in the lobby, and I remember Cosby being up on the screen and they're talking to him, or talking about him, I should say. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, one of my coworkers, female, walked past and she just stopped and said, "You know what? He's so old. What's the point?" And I always wondered, like, if he had been younger, I do think,
You think
things would have been? Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
You think that people want to give him a pass because he was older, or maybe they wanted to give him a pass because of what he's accomplished as a performer? We looked at him in the 80s, late 80s, 90s, mid 80s, right? What, 80? Right. Cosby Show came out, what, 80, 85, 86? Something like
yeah.
That? Yeah. As America's favorite dad, he broke ground, being one of the first Black performers to have a television show back in the 60s. All of the things he's done in terms of philanthropy, all the money he's donated to Black colleges,
right?
And I really think a lot of that was kind of a lot of the forgiveness that he got, or the way he was kind of like, his behavior was excused basically because of what he's done in terms of being an entertainer. And that's unfortunate.
Right. But I still think the age plays into it, because I'll say it to you like this. Can you imagine him still being philanthropic, but being 28 and doing this, being the same way? I still think people would still be harder on him. Whereas let's say you see this frail older gentleman, you know, like I said, here's a woman at work. She didn't say she never said he wasn't guilty. Her thing was, what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah, you know, he's so old now. What, you know?
Right. Well, I also look at Michael Jackson, and that was the most surprising for me. And the reason why it was surprising for me, the defense that he got, not only from the Black community, but Michael Jackson was a world phenomenon. Michael Jackson was the biggest star in the world. Unlike Sean Combs is pretty popular, is a big name, but he's no way close to Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson basically flaunted everything that he shouldn't have been doing to everyone. He's hanging out with kids. He created an environment, like if you're a pedophile, your dream would be to have an amusement park where kids can come and the parents have to leave for days at a time, and you get to hang out with these kids and sleep with them and admit that you're sleeping with them. And America says, well, you know, he's just a kid at heart and he never had a childhood. First of all, you know, how many childhoods are you? Okay, at that time, he's had like 50 childhoods. Dude was like 50 years old. How long does your childhood last? What, 10, 12, 13 years? He's had 10 childhoods. At some point, he's got to grow up.
I've said that myself. I said exactly. I'm like, well, he was like 50 something years old.
Yeah. But we keep making excuses for him. These people are lying. They want to make money. All of these kids are all lying. And he's telling you, I love these kids. It's all about love. I sleep with these kids. But I think the reason is, as a community, we forgave him, or we wanted to look past it because of what he's given us as far as the arts. The Thriller album, Out the Wall, still the greatest albums of all time.
Right.
But we still, right. So I mean, what do you think?
On it. Even has his own vocabulary. So
yeah, I mean, back when we were growing up, Michael Jackson was the biggest star. You know, like he was at his peak back in the 80s with Thriller. Right. Like he was at his peak. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Something that, just to kind of latch on to something you said a moment ago. Someone that I worked with, she was a big Michael Jackson fan, and to your point, she said, "But you know what? The thing that disturbed her as a Michael Jackson fan," she said, "but he has his house set up like a pedophile."
Right.
Even though, even though she was a big fan of his, she still felt that, but he has these tendencies, and that was my thing. Like, my thing was the first set of allegations, which I think were like in '93. I mean, don't quote me, but I think so.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think he had to pay out like about $12 million.
That was a lot of money.
And all my thought was, if I had to cut a check, especially being innocent,
right,
there would never be another kid in my house ever again. My own kids would have to live in their own separate house.
Right.
No one under 18 gets in here, because I'm not having the cops in here. I'm not cutting any checks.
Right.
Just the fact that he was willing to immerse himself back into that environment. That was always the one part where I was like, there might be some truth to this.
But he was flaunting it because he knew he was going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Because of who, and then when you portray, and again, I'm not bashing Michael Jackson. I thought Michael Jackson was the greatest performer of all time. And I still think he will go down in history as the greatest stage performer of all time. So having said that, he had these two different personalities where, he was very childlike, this,
Right.
and I just love children. I just love children. But then he also had this side where he was an adult, where he was grown.
Right.
And I'll tell you a story. One of the things I remember is Paul McCartney saying that when they were doing this Say 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 video
Okay.
back in the 80s, he said Michael came over to him and was like, I really want to, really, generate more income. And what do you think, I should do? And, this money I'm making, what do you think? And then Paul McCartney was like, you got to, I think you really need to buy publishing, get rights, buy publishing. He turned around and bought the Beatles catalog from underneath Paul McCartney. So my point in telling that story is, yes, he had those childlike qualities. He may not have been had a normal childhood, but he knew when to be an adult. He made decisions as an adult.
Right.
And we need to hold him, or we needed to hold him accountable. And potentially, had he got, been stopped earlier, maybe other children may not have been going through what they're going through right now. That's just my opinion.
Right. No, I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah, like you said, he flaunted it, and
he flaunted it, man.
He said, "Hey, I'm the king of pop."
Yeah. So I think our community really, we came to his defense. We gave him the benefit of the doubt, and there's still a lot of people that don't believe that he is, in fact, did that with children. But that goes to a bigger issue. How do you look at when you turn on the TV and see the Cosby Show? Or you turn on the TV or turn on the radio and you hear a Michael Jackson song, or you hear an R. Kelly song. Do you listen to that song differently? Do you watch those movies differently? Are you kind of apprehensive to watch and listen to these artists?
Well, I'll say this: when I hit ignition, I'm like, ugh, and then I always have to change it. I'm like, I love that remix, but I gotta change, and it hurts me.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, I can listen to him now. There was a point where I could not listen to him.
Right.
And as far as Cosby, I just can't. I'm actually, there are times when I'm just amazed that that the show was still on the air. I know it was huge,
right?
But I'm almost surprised it's still on the air, because I'm just like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. They run it. They still do run it.
They do.
Grio, I think, runs it.
Grio.
Yeah. And there's I think there's some other couple of other networks that run it too. But yeah, I do feel the same way. I look at it I look at him a little bit differently now. But going back to Sean Combs, I think this is just. And the reason why I think people aren't defending him, there's a couple of different reasons. One, I think celebrities aren't defending him because they're scared.
That's number one. That's number one, no doubt.
They were interviewing LL Cool J when he was getting ready to go to some award show, and they asked him how he felt about, Sean Combs actually being arrested. And he did, I feel sorry for his kids. I'm praying for his children. That's meaning I'm praying for his children. Didn't bring up Sean Combs. But just talked about his kids. Everybody that's being asked about him, basically, they're sidestepping it. There are some actors and rappers that if they're on this video, they'll wear it as a badge of honor because their character isn't how they make their living. A guy like T.D. Jakes, was a pastor.
Right.
His character is his job. So if he's on those tapes, it's not good for him.
No.
Why is he at a white party anyway? Why would a pastor of his significance in the black community at Sean Combs' white party? Can you answer that?
Right. You would think, I gotta make a business decision and
maybe not. Do you think Obama would be at a white party at Sean Combs' white party? Do you think you know what I mean? I really am excited to be here, and You know, maybe I should leave. There's a couple
Right.
of doors that are being. I hear things in those rooms that maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, I don't want Michelle to find out about this. I need to go. All right, I'm out. Yeah, you're not going to find him there. But Ashton Kutcher, he was, from what I understand, a guy that was there fairly often.
Right.
And he's being very tight-lipped right now. So I think that's part of the reason why celebrities aren't coming out.
Well,
And
I
I
think
think
that's the biggest reason.
yeah,
I think that's the biggest reason. I mean, you have Curtis Jackson.
mhm,
I mean, he's always got something to say every 5 minutes, and he's loving
right,
this. I
right,
mean, yeah, I think it's because the celebrities aren't defending him. Our heroes in the community, if you will.
right,
They're like,
right.
no one's. Think about who have you heard stick up for him?
No
I
one.
mean, I literally have not heard one person
Mm-mm.
stick
No,
up for him.
no,
And,
no.
and
Not
like,
the way, not the way that they did, not the way that they did Jackson, not the
right,
way that they did Tyson or
right,
O.J. Simpson,
right,
or Cosby. You're not hearing it, and I think the number one reason definitely is that there are people that are afraid, and I think the other reason too, I just think now going back to what I talked about earlier, us being in this Me Too movement right now, with people finally believing the victims of these crimes, I think it's kind of unfashionable to come out and kind of now to his point. Sean Combs's lawyer has said it's the government bringing black men down, and I'm like, okay, they gave Sean Combs the key to New York City,
exactly,
so he was running New York, literally had the key
right,
to New York City. So why would New York or the federal government take this man who was beloved in the city of New York,
right.
bring this man down? For what reason? Like, I don't get it. Like, so yeah, I do believe in certain situations there are, environments where yes, black men are being targeted unfairly in the judicial system in terms of on death row. Disproportionate amount of black men that are on death row are executed in comparison to white men. Yes, I believe there's, but Sean Combs is not the poster child for that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And something that you mentioned earlier, that video of Cassie that just changed everything. You could just tell, it. Not that I'm saying I'm comparing apples to apples, but it kind of reminded me of the Ray Rice situation.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
He was about to get like a 2-3 game suspension, and when that video came out, he was done. He never played another down in the NFL.
He was done.
Video changes everything.
Video changes everything. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying this. This is why, again, with Sean Combs, these videos that are out, these videos that are floating around that the government has, and the government has all of these tapes.
Oh,
they have well, we call them tapes. Like, we're real old. We call them like VCR. Like, put it in district attorney. Put the tape in.
We'll want it like a Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah, right. Like Blockbuster Video. Like, man, we're aging ourselves. Yeah, but yeah, I do think in his situation, it's going to be a little bit different. I think the environment culturally right now with the Me Too movement, I think has changed. Orders. I will share this with you before we sign off. I will share this with you. I don't think I've ever told you this story.
So just tell us the whole internet.
Yeah, I'm telling the whole world now.
It's the whole world.
Yeah, I started out doing comedy back in 90. I came out here in 89, 90, and came out here, in 91. I lived in Oceanside for a little bit, and then I was living in LA. And when I got out here, I hooked up with this comedian. It's a friend of mine. His name was Vince Champ. And he won Star Search, which was a variety show.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that.
He won Star Search in 91. Ed McMahon. He won $100,000. And clean comic. Vince Champ was totally clean. Loved this guy. And we connected, and he really showed me the ropes in LA, showed me how to do stand up, showed me how to connect with an audience, and really impressed upon me to be clean. Like, he's like, be clean, man. It's great. And, and he was very inspirational in my development as a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
He did some college shows. He told me he was going on the road and he was doing some college shows, and I lost touch with him. Until later on, I spoke to someone and was like, hey, what happened to Vince Champ? What's going on with Vince? And you can Google him. The guy says, you didn't hear? I'm like, no, what happened? Vince Champ is a serial rapist. And he was sexually assaulting women in colleges when he was performing at colleges. And he got, I believe, 2 life sentences. I think in Nebraska, he's finishing up a 30-year bid in Nebraska. And when he gets out, he's got to do life in Iowa, I believe. So I say that to say, I knew this guy. I thought I knew this guy.
Right.
I'm working with this guy. And again, he's stressing to be clean. And my perception of him was this, guy that, I could look up to.
Right.
I didn't know he was a serial rapist. And no,
you definitely did not tell us this story.
Yeah, I've never told you that story. But And so anybody wants to look him up, it's Vince Champ. And he was a big time comedian. So I say that story to just say that we really don't know people. We never can assume that we do. And I think as a Black community, yes, we do need to stand by and support our men and women, especially who are in the limelight. But when you see a pattern, when you see a history, and you see the smoke, don't ignore it.
Right.
Don't ignore the smoke. There's gonna be fire. Don't ignore it. If you want to say, hey, look, I'm a reserved judgment.
Right, exactly.
That's fine. But don't say he didn't do it. It's the parents. The parents are just giving the kids to the celebrity and blah, 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 blah. No. No. That's doing a disservice to victims worldwide. And that's just my feeling. But yeah, I just think that, that's the reason why I think people aren't really coming to his defense now, because, Sean's got a lot of baggage and people want to distance themselves from him. Yeah.
People have been saying stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
I still, on TV the other day, they showed they show, and I think we've all seen the clip of like him with Bieber, and Bieber looks so uncomfortable, and you're just, it just actually depressed me, because what they allege happened.
Yeah. And Usher was on Howard Stern years ago, and he was talking about how he was in Sean Combs had a camp, like some sort of what?
If something's called like Diddy camp, you might want to pass.
You may not want to go there. Yeah, you may not want to go there.
Exactly.
Yeah, you may not want to go to Diddy camp.
Right.
But no, Usher was saying how, Howard kind of pressed him. He's like, so he's like, I went to, Diddy. I was hanging out with him for like a year or something. And, he was kind of, prepping me to be this big star and showing me how to perform and all this stuff. And he kind of implied, there was some parties. I didn't partake. I was really young then. I wasn't really partaking, but he did see some stuff.
Yes.
That concerned him.
Used.
Yeah. So in closing, man, I don't. Do I think that Sean is guilty? Yes. I think the feds have a strong case. They're not going to bring a case unless they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's.
Absolutely.
I feel more for the victims in this situation, alleged victims, if you want to call it that. But when you see the Cassie tape, and you can say you're drunk and you can say you were high, but to me, drinking and getting high only exacerbates a person's existing personality.
Right.
And I just believe, looking at that video, like you said, it's like, with the Ray Rice video, once you see a video and you see exactly the violence that's happening right in front of your eyes, it's hard to look past that. So anything you want to say in closing?
No, I think we've said it all.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for having me on again, and I look forward to doing this again.